Welcome to the Organizational Transformation Kung Fu Podcast with your hosts, Sandi and Jennifer Long.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Organizational Transformation Kung Fu, or OT Kung Fu, as we like to call it. I am Jen Long with Own Up in Denver, Colorado, and I am here with my co-host, Sandi in Toronto, Canada, from Satori Consulting. Hey, Sandi, how are you?
I'm good, Jen. How are you?
I am fine and dandy.
Excellent.
I'm excited about our topic today because it's one of the things that bugs me the most. we are talking about meetings. Meetings. How do we meet more effectively instead of just meet a lot?
Yes. Yeah. Things have changed. Things have changed.
Since
we can blame the pandemic for many things. And I think we can also blame the pandemic for, meeting-itis on steroids. Before the pandemic, everybody complained about too many meetings. And now that it's just meetings everywhere.
Right.
I listen, my clients are just back to back meetings. They're going from Zoom call to Zoom call to Zoom call. They don't have to run down the hall anymore for the most part, but they're just back to back. How do they do their job?
We can cram so many meetings into a day now because we don't have to fly, we don't have to drive, we don't have to get out of our chair.
Yes.
We were laughing about the fact that the big question is how many times have you gotten out of a meeting and thought, oh, what was the point of that?
Yeah, it's a complete waste of time. And who did you tell when you thought that? Right? And so I think we've all been there many, many times, more times than we can probably count, that we leave a meeting and we're just like, that was just a complete waste of time and I could have had coffee instead.
Right. Exactly.
And been more productive.
Exactly. Well, and we've stopped considering the criteria, right? What is good criteria for a meeting and why do we meet, right? So criteria number one is purpose. What is the point? What is the point of getting together? And I'm always a big fan of when you're really looking at your calendar and you're looking at how you're scheduling yourself or what you're saying yes to. Where's the value? Where's the value in what you say yes to? Because so many of my, especially leaders and executives and managers, get pulled into meetings because someone else needs something. It's of no value to you as a participant, right? Mm-hmm. And getting clear on how do you deal with that, right? What are the conversations that need to have to mitigate a little bit of this meeting-itis or create space for people to say no, right?
Right, which may be a shift in culture, right? Because your culture might be, if you get invited, you attend. And so to be able to ask why do I need to be there? What am I going to learn? What am I going to contribute? Why is my voice important at the table? Are really good, important questions to ask. Time is, it's so finite, right? We're talking about this so many times, that everybody's talking about how busy they are in the workplace. They're just running ragged. And yet we sometimes will fill our time with meetings that we don't even have to be at. So that whole time waster. I think the other piece of that, though, is like, what if I'm not at the table? What if I miss something? FOMO, right? Fear of missing out, right? So I'm not going to ask why I need to be there. I just want to be there.
Or it's a sense of importance, right? I have a friend of mine who made the joke about when people say, oh, I'm so busy, or I'm so busy. It's like, why don't you just say what you really mean is I'm so important, right? I'm just so important. I have to be everywhere.
Yes, and everybody wants a piece of me.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of ego attached to being on the meeting invite, being part of the conversation, right? In the room where it happens, so to speak.
Yes.
Although so many things don't happen in that room.
Well, no, certainly not if there isn't a purpose of the meeting. So why are you holding a meeting is critically important, and communicate that to everybody. I'm having a meeting so that we can strategize on the conversion project that's in place. And these are the outcomes I'm expecting from this meeting. Whether you get there or not is sort of irrelevant at this stage, but be clear on what it is that you want to leave that meeting with. So why are you
Right.
having it, and what are the possible outcomes of that meeting?
And the other one is, how should people be prepared? Right.
Yes,
I find that when you book yourself back to back to back to back, at what point are you preparing for the next meeting? And if you're doing all of your thinking in the room, how tedious is the meeting? Right.
exactly.
Because the value goes down, it correlates, right? The value of the meeting goes down by how much preparedness there is to
Hmm.
meet. And the less preparedness you have, the less valuable the meeting.
Yep.
So that's why setting an agenda is important. When people are like, what are we going to do? Right? Is this a brainstorming meeting? Is this a decision making meeting? Is this just a checkpoint meeting? Like, what is the gist? And how do I prepare for that?
Hmm.
And really, yeah, what is the, I love your question, is what is my voice at the table about?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And if it's not clear when you get that meeting invite, I think you should Teams message the person or pick up the phone and ask them, why it is that it's important that you be there, and what do you need to prepare for to be, the first to speak at this meeting, right? And
Right.
if you don't just assume just by being there, it makes sense. And so I think
Right.
all of us can be better at saying, do I really need to be at this meeting?
Yeah. And I think most of the times people are better in their meeting discipline when it comes to meetings with customers, meetings with outside
Yes.
entities, vendors, customers, that kind of thing. It's the internal meetings that really, really suffer sloppiness, lack of attention, right? And sometimes meetings are just like they've been on, it's just what we do kind of thing. And we just do this thing. There's a ritual, but does it serve the business? Is this
Hmm.
time, right? Do the meeting math. If you were looking at how much everybody was getting paid for the hour they sat there and how much math you've got in that room, what is the cost of your meeting? And is that meeting generating enough value to pay for itself?
Hmm. Yeah, meeting math, a really important concept, I think, here. I was reading some stats on sort of unproductive meetings, and one of them was that research shows that 50% of meetings are unproductive, and that $37 billion was wasted on unproductive meetings. And I don't know exactly what that time frame was, but I don't care the time frame. It could have been 10 years for all I care. That's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of money spent in an unproductive environment.
Yeah, those are your raises, people. Those are your
Yes.
profit shares, people.
Yeah.
you have control over this if you're the guy setting a million meetings. It's like, think about that. You're impacting the company's bottom line directly around productivity.
Yes. Right. We were
Yeah, and
talking
when
last time in our last podcast about the leader as coach, and that's a great conversation to be having with your people around how much time are you spending in meetings, and is it adding value to yourself, is it adding value to the organization, and exploring that. And so I think
yeah,
we talked about the beginning, so having the purpose of the meeting, maybe having an agenda, some outcomes, what the prep time that people need, but jumping to the end is, are we having short little recaps of this meeting saying, did we hit what we need to hit today? Does everybody understand what they need to do? What are the marching orders as we leave here? Because I've been in too many meetings where I'll be, wait, like who's doing what and by when, and everybody's
yeah,
walking out the door, right?
right.
And it never gets
There's,
done.
yeah,
Where's the
yeah.
Where's the clarity on expectations, Jen, and the
Yes.
accountability that comes as a result of those clarity of expectations? Own
Who
up would
owns
tell you
what?
that's right. That's right. That's an
100%. Who
important.
owns what? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But so
And,
many meetings, they just, because they run out of time, it's just like, we've got to wrap up because I have to jump on another call. And they
mhm,
don't get to that really important point of clarity of expectations when you leave that room,
right.
virtually or otherwise.
And really being intentional about who you put in a meeting and why, and what is the
Hmm.
role that person is playing in that meeting, right? And I don't think we think about meeting roles per se, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes it's whoever owns the meeting runs the meeting, and if they called the meeting, then we all show up and go, okay, what do you want, right? But if my voice is important, what is the role I'm playing, right? And am I representing my area of the business? Am I representing a project? Am I representing, and what is my role there based on the intended outcome? And
Mm-hmm.
in my view, status meetings, yawn, right? Like, the stand-up meetings at the beginning of the week, helpful. What's going on? Everybody, doing what? Maybe you got to do an end of the meeting wrap, but those are short, keep them
Yeah.
brief.
Quick.
What I see a dearth of is actual problem solving,
Mm-hmm.
right? When we get into a meeting and we're like, look, we're going to spend time looking at one issue from many perspectives to see if we can wrap our arms around what we're really struggling with, right? Is this the right problem? And are we all clear on what the problem is? And there's a way to prepare for that, right? And those meetings to me are always more satisfying way to spend time and create value than checking up on stuff.
Right.
And so
right.
when you think of how many meetings are you in where you're just checking up on stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you raise a really important point. This whole notion of what is the problem that we're trying to solve. So that's sort of the purpose idea. But what is the problem that we're trying to solve? I was at a client site not too long ago, and they said, "Oh, we need to create a strategy around X, Y, Z." And I asked that question: "What is the problem that you're trying to solve?" And they stopped, and they, which is I'm not saying that I'm the smartest person in the room, but it just seems so incredibly. Mismatch
Relevant.
because they're creating a strategy for a problem that you hadn't actually articulated what the problem was quite yet, and so they stopped, right? And so again, be clear on what it is that you're trying to solve. And you're right, spend the time in that meeting solving that problem, not 20 problems, not 12 problems,
a
one,
problem,
maybe two
depending how big they are. Yeah.
That's right. But, clear. And so you're right. I think a lot of meetings are more of this, because of the more of the status updates, and I just need a quick touch base. And we need to discern and differentiate between what is a strategy meeting and what is a meeting that is just a quick hit.
And so many people will call a meeting because they're worried about something or uncomfortable about something. And so they're like, let's get everybody together. And I think, you really got to check your head and go, what are you worried about? And is it worth a meeting? Right? Really pull that back before you start to involve a bunch of people in calming you down because you're uncomfortable about where something is or where things might be. And so think about that before should it be a conversation with one member of your team versus your whole team?
Right.
Or whatever.
Right. Yeah. I think on one of our podcasts in the past, we've talked about, this notion of self-directed team. And I have a few clients that are going down this route. And one of the issues that we bring up is around this notion of, to make a decision, do you need everybody at the table or not? Right. And if you don't need everybody at the table, figure out who you do need at the table, and don't bring in everybody, because it could take more time if you don't have time.
Consensus building.
Right. Yeah. And so that was a big thing. So self-directed team, we have to make decisions together, but that doesn't mean that everybody. Sometimes it's good enough to have 3 people make a decision and bring it back to the team and share what that decision is and the why behind it. But that again is a shift, right? A shift from everybody needing to be at the table versus just, a couple people
It's an exercise in trust too, right? It demonstrates we trust you to make good decisions, right? We trust you that you've got good information. We trust that you've, done the due diligence. And it really, you don't need everybody in the company to be in agreement on things. Right? We're doing the project. Let's commit to the project. Let's trust people who can make decisions, that they'll make the right decisions. And if they don't, then we problem solve.
Yeah. I sort of look at it from a governance perspective and boards and committees. And one of the questions I always ask when I'm doing board evaluations is, do we redo the work of our committees? And if you do, then you have a problem, right? But again, it's that trust. We give the committees the time and the space to deep dive into things and just bring up the decision and the why behind it. And the board should support it. Question it from an oversight perspective, but many times it's a redo. And if you're redoing in meetings work that other people have done, There's
Yeah.
two things that are sort of at fault. One is maybe the committee didn't do the work they were supposed to, but maybe they weren't clear. Or there's a control issue of the greater group. And those discussions have to be made and had after meetings to say, did we use our time wisely today?
Right. Because I think that if you're going to really get good outcomes, there's this, if you're doing meetings before meetings, you've got a problem. If you're doing meetings after meetings, you have a problem, because you need to do more relationship building and focused attention into what creates the need to have a meeting before a meeting, right? What creates the need to have, and those I think can be solved individually in ways that people don't really spend the time to think through. They just want to, it feels less time consuming if we just all get in the room. And you don't necessarily build trust in the room as a group all the time. You build trust person to person. And so if you're having meetings before meetings so that you can campaign on something in a meeting, you've got issues, right? You need to be talking. You've got politics in the way, that kind of thing, which also leads me to the other meeting drama that makes me crazy is being present in a meeting. How many people,
especially in the virtual world, right? How easy is it to two screens, multitask, phone down here? We all see you looking down. We see you.
Yeah, we see you. We know by how many times you've had to say, "I'm sorry, I missed that. What did you say?" Because you were reading your email, right? And the other thing is when you're in a meeting, present fully, like live meeting, and you're texting someone else in the meeting. Yes.
Yes.
What is that? Right?
Yeah.
That is, I'm not willing to tell people what I'm like. I don't want to be forthcoming about what I'm thinking about, right? I'm holding back, which creates distrust. I'm not paying attention fully. I'm sidetracked. I'm doing other things because it's a huge indicator of this meeting has no value because I'm going to go through my email while I'm sitting here.
Right?
All sorts of statements are made when you're not present in a meeting.
Yeah.
Because if you're present and you're asking the right questions I don't understand I mean, there's been meetings where fully present people are like, I don't think we're prepared to have this conversation. Let's table this.
Absolutely.
Right? And then suddenly you've got 45 minutes back of your day.
Yeah. And so it goes back. So many times we talk about this notion of trust and being vulnerable. You need to have trust within a room to be able to say, I don't think that we are doing this, that we're using our time wisely. Like we need to go back to the drawing board, reset a meeting with purpose and agenda and outcomes. And so that we can all be prepared to have a good conversation and actually have some movement as a result. But it does take trust. And so is it the easier of the two just to sit back and text somebody in the call or to read your email or to check out? And I think all of us, in corporate Canada and America, in the world, as really have to start to think, if you're checking out of a meeting, why are you in that meeting?
Right. And I think we've gotten lazy about meetings because technology has said you can have them whenever, however, right? It's just easy to get people on a camera. I can just do it randomly quicker, right? I can see everyone's schedule. I know they're all free, right? I can drive it at a level that I never was able to do before. And so now we're lazy about that, where we don't respect people's time and attention in a way that we should. And we need to all be a little bit more precious and discerning about how we spend our time and who we give our time to and in what ways. Because that requiring a little more rigor about what I'm going to say yes to on my schedule, right?
Yeah,
is important.
For sure. Anything else? We've got purpose and agenda. We've got what are the outcomes? Who needs to be at the table? What prep time do they need? What are you expecting? The meeting math.
Right? Do the math.
Right?
What roles are you expecting people to play in a meeting?
The roles. Yeah.
Right? Is there certain, do I need an advocate? Do I need a devil's advocate? Do I need...
Sure, yeah.
somebody who's an expert, like what is the role in the meeting?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a role around the structure of the meeting. How are you
Mm-hmm.
respecting the agenda, the time frames,
Yeah.
and the participation level? If
Mm-hmm.
they're in the meeting, have they contributed? Have they spoken? Are they just nodding their head? Because nodding is never always agreement. It's just okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Let's get this done, right? There's that facilitative role. That's usually we look at the whoever owns the meeting to be that facilitative role,
Exactly.
but sometimes you should create the facilitative role. And if you're teaming, rotate that thing around, right? Or are you intentional about, because that creates a challenge for participation if you're trying to facilitate at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I'm a big advocate for having a facilitator role, and a timekeeper. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, how many times are you on a meeting and you go over, and you just haven't really realized it because you're passionate about it or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
the 5 minute or 10 minute warning to say, okay, where are we at, and
Mm-hmm.
have we accomplished what we need to do, and be mindful and respectful of other people's time.
Right. And a facilitator is also really good at policing people who overtalk things,
Hmm.
right? Guiding the conversation. And I think those kind of behavioral nuances are also something that we've lost the plot on some meetings where we just, well, that's so and so. They're just going to talk us to death.
Right.
Right. That I think if you need to be a little bit more self aware of what is your meeting behavior. Are you, because you're unprepared, have to talk out loud and then you monopolize everyone's time? Do you show up late and then make people go back and review things they've already talked about for the first 10 minutes? Right? What is
Hmm.
your meeting behavior and how do you impact the dynamics of a meeting? And those things need to be pulled, made aware. You need to be made aware of in somebody's role in the meeting to say, hey, you've
Right.
already told us that once. I don't think we need to talk about it again.
Yeah, yeah. And if you're not comfortable in the meeting doing that, I think it's fair to have, a mechanism for feedback after. Right? Sometimes you don't want to call someone out. Let's call a spade.
Especially if it's
But
your boss. Yeah.
especially your boss, the talker boss. But you should have if you're in a meeting, I think you have the right to give people in that meeting feedback after, and you should be
Yes.
receptive to have the feedback back. So if you're the talker in the
Yes.
meeting, expect that somebody might tell you that,
Mm-hmm.
and then sort of own that and help make some positive change. So meeting behavior, maybe if you're a team that meets a lot, even if you're not, if you're a sort of cross-functional team, maybe you're just intact for a short time doing a job. What are your meeting norms? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Meeting norms are a great way of having something that you can go back and give feedback on. Right? We
Right.
said we weren't
Right.
multitask. We said we wouldn't have sidebar conversations. We said we wouldn't, and yet I observed this behavior.
Yeah, right. We
Right?
said we'd be prepared when we showed up, and half of us are
Mm-hmm.
showing up cold, right? We can't make good
Yeah,
decisions if you're cold. Yeah. Yeah. And
exactly.
and those little after action review kind of conversations are good. Did we get the outcome?
Mm-hmm.
Did we agree? Did we make decisions? Why can't we get to a decision? What do we need to do differently?
Right. So
Those are
leave
all
time and
acceptable.
space. Yeah,
Mhm.
for at the end of your
Mhm.
meeting to have those. I think that's
Right.
critically important, because I think when you start recognizing that and having those conversations, your meetings are only going to get better because you are purposeful about why
Right.
you're meeting and
Right.
what you want.
A meeting is a process, right? It's like any other business process. And if your business processes are broken, one of the this is one of the biggest processes that I think is broken all the time and people just don't pay any attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
That meeting discipline is as good a process as any other kind of work process. That if
Yes.
we're thinking about our process, how do we improve it?
Yeah. Yeah. So have some discipline around your meetings. That just that in general, having it top of mind will help the productivity of the meeting and of yourself. Question if you're invited. Do you need to be there? And if so, why?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, making sure that you're having some time to leave your meeting with clear expectations and next steps. Don't
Yes.
leave it dangling. Don't leave little things hanging around. Like, everybody needs to walk away knowing what their role is in order to move this strategy forward, or whatever it might be. But
100%. And
wrap it
if you're
up.
in a And if you're in an ongoing cycle of work with people, if you can set the next meeting's agenda at the end of a meeting so that you know exactly what you're heading into, that's when you know you've got good meeting discipline.
Yes. Yeah. And you're right. So I think we all need that. I think this is sort of a quick hit podcast to remind people of the importance of meeting discipline. And, now in the virtual world, that it's so easy to have meetings on the fly. And we need more discipline around them in order to be more productive in our day job, so that we're not just going from screen to screen to screen, from meeting to meeting to meeting, to group to group to group, and really not getting anything done, either at the meetings or in between meetings at your desk.
Right? So start your own discipline. Step 1. Step 2, start saying no to meetings that don't have value. See what happens. Just try it.
Yes. And no more lazy meetings.
That's right.
Awesome.
Well, I hope that was helpful, little bit of tidbit, trying to think through how you can do it different, transform one meeting at a time in your organization. If you've got feedback, have other meeting tips you want to share with folks, we'd love to hear that. Let us know, add comments, share the podcast with your friends and colleagues, and we will see you at the next pod.
Excellent. Thanks, Jen.
Hey, Sandy. Great talking to you.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. You can check out Sandy's website at satoriconsultinginc.ca. That's SATORI consultinginc.ca. And visit Jen's website at own-up.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.